purpose of this video is to share with you information about the Personal Development Report that you have received. This is broken out into 4 separate sections. The first section, we're going to talk about the history and the background behind personality assessment tools and talk about what's included in section 1. So the background. Behavioral profiling personality assessment tools have roots in work that was done some 2,500 years ago by Hippocrates. He is the person who's given credit with originally defining the 4 cornerstone traits. Much more work was done with this by the behavioralists earlier in the 20th century, where they came up with the modern-day definitions of those 4 cornerstone traits. And this particular behavioral tool, which was developed by Professional Dynametric Profiles, or PDP, utilizes that information. So we start by measuring the 4 cornerstone traits, and they are known as dominance, which is also known as the control trait, extroversion, which is your social and fluency trait, pace, which is the rate of motion trait, be it a fast-paced, action-oriented individual or a more patient individual. And then conformity. Conformity is the structure and detail trait, and that measures whether somebody has more of a big picture orientation or a detail orientation. Well, the output that you see is a combination of a narrative and a graphical representation. And the narrative explains the graph, and the graph explains the narrative. And the graph that we see here shows us the relative position of each of those 4 cornerstone traits. And it shows it by listing what the trait is, and on your report you'll be able to read this, but it will read dominance for the first trait, extroversion, then pace, then conformity, and the position of those traits. The position of the dots indicate whether a trait is either a high trait, a low trait, or a medium trait. And the composite, which is over here, that starts after it says, you have indicated by your responses to the ProScan survey that this breakdown is the composite based on the position of the 4 cornerstone traits. 3 additional things also get measured in the basic natural self. And those 3 things are logic, whether a person is more feeling-oriented, fact-oriented, or balanced. Energy style, whether a person is more inner-directed, outer-directed, or steadfast and tenacious. And kinetic energy level, how much energy a person has in their battery. And that's reflected in the graph, and all of this is spelled out in the section that starts Basic Natural Self. And you'll know that you're in the Basic Natural Self section because the graph will always be blue in the Basic Natural Self section. This is how you responded to the first 30 adjectives when you said, here's how I think I really am. Next to section 2.